Be sure to click that subscribe link and that notification bell. You are in for a treat. How would you describe your life or the position you were in 5 years ago?
5 years ago. Okay. Let me think. 5 years ago, I guess that would probably be before I even started doing YouTube. I had an account. I had a YouTube account back in 2008, before YouTube was a thing. It was just a baby. They didn't run ads, and you couldn't put videos longer than, I forget. I think 10 minutes was like the most, and they didn't run any ads, so it wasn't a thing back then. You could share things, which was really great.
Yes.
So before that, man, what was I doing? I guess I was just being a regular dude.
Yes.
I mean, I grew up north, so I'd always done these sorts of things, but I moved to southern Ontario from northern Ontario, so I kind of lost my roots again a little bit. I think as we all do into our 20s.
Yes.
And then we sort of settle down and you start your family and your job and your career and all that stuff. So I was really pretty much focused on that at the time.
Yes.
As we all do. And then you sort of lose touch with the outdoors. So
yes.
I guess that's kind of where things switched up. So yeah, I was pretty much focused on work. I was doing some renovations with my brother. I had always done a few little internet side businesses that never really took off, some PDF, ebooks, and things like that. And I was kind of watching YouTube and seeing what was happening, and I was following a couple guys on YouTube, but, you know, everybody knows Joe Robinette, and kind of living vicariously through those guys.
Yes.
And because I couldn't get up north as much as I had wanted to, so stuck in the city, just like a lot of guys who were probably watching YouTube, and living vicariously through these other guys. And then the show Alone came along, and I got really into that, and so I made my application video. I put that on YouTube and let it kind of ride, and turns out I got 50,000 views or something like that, and I thought, hey, wait a second, this is kind of good.
Yes, that is amazing.
And I never thought anything of it. I just throw it up there and try to get on the show Alone on the History Channel, and lo and behold, people liked what I had put out there for my video, and I'm like, hey, if I can get 50,000 views every time I put up a video, that'd be great.
Yes.
Turns out it didn't go that way, but a lot of toil and hard work after that, but yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and that's fantastic that your videos blew up like that. I know when I had went to your page, I was like, this dude has over 500,000 subscribers, and I was like, that is amazing. I said, one day I'm going to get like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it doesn't just start, like, you really have to put a lot of hard work into it, and it's almost like, I watched a guy make a video on YouTube, and he's like, you know what? He's like, if you don't give it one full year, full time, you'll never really know your potential. So I kind of went with that, and I went, okay, I'm going to do a whole year and see what happens, and I did not too bad in the first year. I think it was like 10 or 15,000 after the first year, and then the second year and third year kind of really snowballed from there.
Yes.
So it's more like an exponential growth, but you do have to really pay your dues on YouTube now. I think I mean, if you know what you're doing, I think you could probably start from scratch again and get up there pretty quickly, but it is a lot of trial and error and a lot of failure, a lot of grit. You need a lot of grit, and you got to really, really put yourself out there and work through it.
Yes, and that brings me to my next question. How would you describe your current situation? I noticed, because I watch all of your videos, and the first time I started watching your video, you had did a catch and cook of pike, and you had spring edibles like mint, and I remember you. That was the very first video I've ever seen. I was like, this is so interesting, and let me go and subscribe, and that that brings me to your next question with how you would describe your current situation. Because one video I recently saw is that you're doing cabins in the woods build.
Yeah.
And could you describe that? And, like, is that what you're focused on right now? Or.
Well, thing is, I guess some people do YouTube for everybody does YouTube for a different reason, and my reason was always to give myself an excuse to go out and do the things that I like doing.
Yes.
Whereas I think maybe other YouTubers might figure, okay, what do I need to do? Interested, and I'm not saying that I'm not doing a little bit of both, because obviously you can't just do whatever you want on YouTube, and that's a pretty surefire way of losing all your subscribers if you just focus on what I want to do today. Is like I just want to relax. Maybe I don't feel like going out today. I'm going to view it. Actually, there are some guys who do really good at vlogging in that style. But for me, it's like, okay, so I like doing outdoor stuff. YouTube gives me a reason to go out into the outdoors and explore and do things differently. So I guess I'm kind of using YouTube to motivate me to go out.
Yes.
Which I think is a message I'm kind of always trying to share with the audience, to just go out there and do things and risk failing. And I guess at one point in time, I kind of like, okay, the survival thing is one thing, and I kind of got that figured out. Season 4, we made a lot of headway on what we needed as far as diet, whereas Season 1, we were lost. Season 2, we kind of, we got lucky. Season 3, we kind of, we got better at it. We knew what we needed to do. We just didn't happen perfectly. And then Season 4, we're just like, okay, let's do it right. And we did. So we came in with a really good game plan, executed the game plan, and everything went better than we expected. So now you're looking at, okay, well, what's next? Like, we've got the food, we've got the diet, we've got these primitive skills lined up, we've got modern skills lined up, and we kind of know what we need to do. So what's next? And like my brother and I were just like, well, you know what? He's interested in getting a sawmill, and I'm like, oh, he's got the land here, we got the trees here, we have the interest, we have the expertise, and that kind of goes back to our renovation experience.
Yes.
And so the cabin build was more, what's next? What are we going to do? So I think the channel is just going to continue to evolve. And we're always going to kind of have our core topics that we cover, but we will probably cover them in different ways as we move forward. But it'll always kind of be related to the outdoors. So I think the cabin is more like, where are we going to live if we live in the wilderness? What kind of skills do you need to put together a proper shelter? I've made primitive shelters. I've watched lots of people do primitive shelters. And so the cabin was like, well, let's build something that'll last a long time and that'll be comfortable to live in, that we can, sleep in, and we can use it as a launch pad to go out and do some more wilderness stuff. So I think it's just an extension of what we're doing anyway. But it's like turning the page on wilderness living, and so structures is definitely the next avenue for sure.
Yes. And I noticed sometimes when you do your vlogs and your catch and cooks, you have another YouTuber with you named Jeremy, who's also
Yep.
known as Wildcrafter. I'm going to post his channel link in the description box. But will you still be continuing to do videos with Jeremy?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jeremy and I are really good friends. We go back to high school days. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, we hung out a little bit, mostly centered around like bow hunting. It's like I really got into bow hunting in high school, and he had a bow, and I didn't have a bow, and he was like really interested in the outdoors as I was, and we just kind of hooked up, and we just started doing all these bow hunts for grouse, and we actually only managed to ever get, I think, one. I got one. We went out like so many times every weekend or whatever for a good stretch of time, and he ended up getting a hare, and so that was like the extent of our success, but we were right into it.
Yes.
But Jeremy lives far away from me. That's the thing. He's about 4 hours north. He's where I used to live, where I grew up. He's still in the same center, and
Yes.
so it's harder for us to get together. But when we can make time, we definitely do make time.
Yes.
So he's busy. He's got 3 kids, and he's doing his big wild year. So he's really focused on day-to-day food collection and preparation, and also eating. Where our modern lives are pretty easy. We just you dig out the refined flour and you're ready to go. Whereas he's got to go out and And if he wants a starch or if he wants some kind of flour or something to bake with or whatever, he's got to go out and find it. And I don't even know if he's at that stage yet. He's still kind of eating off the bear and the maple syrup and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
he's got a big wild year coming up. So it's harder for us to find time to do it, but we definitely, every chance we get, we are out there together for sure.
Okay, awesome. That's amazing. That's awesome. Jeremy's a cool guy. from just from watching, he seems pretty down to earth, pretty cool. And I have one final question for you. Where do you vision yourself 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's a tough question because I guess that it's not really. I mean, if you're talking about like where I see myself on YouTube, I don't know if it's necessarily up to me where I end up on YouTube. I think it's more like, where does the audience see me in 5 years? Do they see me growing? Do they see me kind of staying where I'm at? Or, do they see me shrinking because they're kind of losing interest in what I'm doing? So I don't know if it's really up to me. I just kind of continue doing what I do.
Yes.
And I hope people are interested in that. And I think, kind of at a little bit of a crossroads on the channel where, if I don't do things differently, I think we'll probably stay at the level that we're at now. So I would like to do more traveling, and I think the viewer would probably appreciate if I went off and did different adventures.
Yeah, like your Texas trip.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just doing the same things but in different environments, because if you're doing the same thing over and over again in the same environment, it is really, it's just a repetition.
Yes.
And it's tricky for me to get away because, like I said, I have a family, and
Yes.
Traveling is a big thing. So for Texas, I was there for 17 days.
Yes.
That's a long time. I think I banged out about 18 videos there, so I did it pretty good. One a day is pretty much on average. And then I came home and I had to edit. I was editing for probably a month straight to try to get everything put together. So that's 45 days, right? That's a big commitment. So if I go off and do these trips, and they're not cheap, I have to be away from my family. But I do enjoy doing them, and I wish I was 10 years earlier before I had a family, or maybe even 10 years later when I don't have to worry so much about my son and my wife and making sure everything's set together here. But yeah, I think that's definitely something that I'll try to pepper in over time and do, and continue to do the trips and continue to push myself so I'm not growing. I wouldn't say shrinking, but I'm not growing, so I'm not trying things that are different and new and more difficult. Because I do think that we need that to continue to grow, or else we kind of feel not right in where we are. I think we always need to go and push ourselves to try things that are difficult and maybe things that we're not comfortable with. So yeah, I definitely put myself in more, I say uncomfortable situations, but definitely more challenging situations. And some of that is just like traveling, meeting new people, and putting yourself out there. And you never know if you show up. I didn't know what I was getting into when I went to Texas. I had no clue, and thankfully everything worked out real well. And Bob Hansler was an excellent host. You guys go check him out, Bob Hansler too. He does really great survival stuff too. But
yes, he does. And I'm gonna post his link in the description box. He's phenomenal. I mean, the how he does it all is amazing. And I remember when you was with him, y'all were trying to catch some animal, and at first it took days, and then you finally caught something, but it wasn't what y'all was looking to catch. And I remember, and it was a pretty big size cage.
Yeah.
And I remember that.
Yeah, we were trying to chop a hog there, and it was not working in our favor. And we would see them every day. Actually, I'll have a hunt up at some point, but we tried really hard to get hog. It wasn't working out. And as you know, Bob's been dealing with some health issues too. He's lost the majority of his eyesight. Yeah, so to mesh together and do a survival challenge like that, obviously we're both kind of putting ourselves out there, right? And I had to rely quite a bit on his expertise. And he did an excellent job of just kind of laying things out and then trying to bring me up to speed as to what's going on in Texas and orient me there. And I think that's kind of part of the challenge, right? If you're meeting somebody, you're in a brand new environment, and you really have to lean on them to know what's up. Like where are your wild edibles? You know, how do we hunt? How do we fish? How do we trap?
Yes.
And to bring somebody on the same page with you too is another thing. So they may not know the ins and outs of what it requires to keep your weight up and to live in the wild. So that's where the challenge comes in as far as like, you know, what I'm going to do in the next 5 years is like maybe finding those people that kind of they've got their areas already set out and I can go in there and we can do our thing together. I think that'd be something that really I want to shoot for in the next 5 for sure.
Yes, that is fantastic. That concludes this interview, everybody. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to click the subscribe link and the notification bell. And until next time, I do thank you. Thank you so much.